Hello, how's it going? Drew here with a video for you. In this one, I want to talk about limiting beliefs and how you can overcome them and with this amazing series of meditations and all this wonderful stuff that I'm going to dive into. So yeah, I wanted to make this video because a lot of my friends and some family members still have these limiting beliefs that I hear them say that aren't true. It bums me out. They may have tried, meditation at some point or journaling with not the best long-lasting results, let's say. So what I want to share in this video is what has worked for me. One of the things I still struggle with today is social anxiety. I used to be really, really bad back in the day, like really, really bad. And I was also bullied a lot, and I internalized a lot of bad things, let's just say, and I internalized it as, oh, this must be true about me. And that's where a lot of my limiting beliefs and things came from. And so, but how do you overcome these limiting beliefs? Most people spend their entire lives, and I've known relatives who have had limiting beliefs their entire life, and they can't seem to escape them. And no matter what they do, these limiting beliefs still come up and still prevent them from really seeing long-lasting change in their lives. So how do you do this? What is the most effective way that I have found you do this? Obviously, reading will help. I always recommend the book Psycho-Cybernetics, 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. All these books are fantastic. They really help you grasp this concept of what we're thinking most of the time and what our habits that we do most of the time. That is what's going to determine what we see reflected in our perception of reality. By changing your self-concept, how you can start to change these things and start to see more opportunities and more synchronicities and good things coming into your life. But it all starts right here in what we're saying to ourselves and how we're treating ourselves up here. What I found is, even if like my friends or family members who have recommended these books and they've read them, they still aren't getting it. And it's because they're intellectualizing, right? And I fell into this trap myself. On an intellectual level, I understood the concepts. I understood about self-esteem and self-care and the power of our thoughts and the power of our imagination and what we're thinking and how that will influence what we perceive in our reality. Even though I understood those concepts, I still was struggling with these limiting beliefs. So what was the thing that helped me overcome it? Well, have been doing a lot of research these past few years. I mean, ever since I lived in San Francisco, what I discovered was through a YouTuber who I follow named Quasi, and he did a video on the gateway process. And so long story short, back in the late 70s, early 80s, the CIA actually, believe it or not, did research on human consciousness, and they were interested in how to develop and raise human consciousness so they could do remote viewing and concentrate someone's mind power to be able to do remote viewing and to spy on the Soviets, because this was during the Cold War. And so anyway, the Monroe Institute, they came up with a series of meditations that could literally take someone who's fully awake, get them in the state akin to sleep, also known as SATS, but design these meditations a way where even though you're very, very much asleep, you're wide awake. Your mind is awake. And when you're in that state, you can reprogram your beliefs. And this is also reflected in quantum physics as well as a lot of psychology, also in psycho-cybernetics, that if we can change what we believe in the subconscious level, we can start to change our self-concept. The reason why so many people have problems in changing these limiting beliefs, and I see this with a lot of my friends, a lot of my family members again, and it bothers me. But the reason why they're stuck is because they try to change these beliefs when they're awake. When you're awake, you're in beta. And when you're in beta, you're mostly in the left side of the brain, which is more analytical, it's more logical, and so it's really hard to change what you believe and what you consent to be true in your world when you are in beta. When you're a kid, you're mostly in alpha, and you absorb all these other belief systems and the environment around you, and that's what creates a lot of your subconscious programming. So how can we change the subconscious programming? So what you want to do is you want to get into the state akin to sleep, also known as SATs, and that is alpha state. Alpha and theta is where you want to be. And so the inception point for that is right before you go to sleep or right when you wake up first thing in the morning. Okay? So that is the optimal time optimal time to play empowering affirmations, to do your visualizations. But what I found has worked the most effectively out of everything, the most powerful meditations ever developed, are the ones from the Gateway Experience. And so what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is what makes the Gateway Experience meditations different is they are designed to synchronize both hemispheres of your brain, right? They use binaural beats and they put you into alpha, but they don't just put you in the alpha brainwave state. They synchronize both hemispheres of your brain in the beginning of these meditations. Okay. They have you visualize when you inhale through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. What happens is they have you visualize when you're inhaling that you're bringing in clean energy from the base of your spine, and you're traveling up all this energy through your heart and then into the middle of your brain, and then you swirl that energy around in your brain. And some of you might know this, that in the middle of your brain, that's pretty much where the pineal gland is, your third eye. That's where it is. So what was happening when you're doing that, when you're inhaling, is you're opening up your heart and you're transmitting energy. You're moving energy up to your brain. And what that does, if you follow Joe Dispenza, what that does is it creates more energy in your brain, and your body becomes more of a magnet. And because what quantum physics has showed us that, and same with the Gateway Experience, the CIA documents have proven, is around everyone is electromagnetic energy, okay, that is surrounding your body. And a good way to test that this is true is if you just clap your hands, you rub them together and you clap them, and then you go like this, you'll feel that energy, okay? And I learned that from Alyssa Waters. She's a fabulous lady. So anyway, in the beginning of these Gateway Experience meditations, you're inhaling and you imagine this energy going up to your head. And on the exhale, they have you visualize you exhaling through like you're whistling, and you hum as you do it. And you're letting out all this old, stale, used up energy, all the negative energy, all that stuff. You're exhaling it. And they have you visualize all that energy going down through the palms of your hands, through the bottom of your feet. And so that is such a great way to really help you to open up, right? Because a lot of people's trauma or angst or negative energy will be stored below the solar plexus. There will be a lot of energy stored up there. So when you're doing this in the beginning of each meditation, it helps loosen up a lot of the energy and open up your heart a little bit more. And it's really, really powerful. So, but what is so powerful about the hemisync is once you have both hemispheres of your brain synced, a magical thing happens. You don't really think a lot. You're in this state of stillness, and you truly do become the observer. So meaning that if you do come across a thought, it's not going to get you emotionally riled up. You're just going to see it as like a cloud floating by, you're just going to let it be there and float away because you're in such a relaxed state. And what happens is when the hemispheres of your brain are synced, you're using more of your right side of the brain. You're using more of that creative side, the intuitive side of your brain. And when you get into Focus 12, it's the second module of Gateway Experience, When you get to that state, then you start to tap more into your intuition for problem solving. There's a meditation on patterning, which is if you want to install new empowering beliefs, the narrator has you visualize where do you want to be a month from now? Like, where do you want to be in terms of your health? Where do you want to be in terms of knowledge that you've learned? Where do you want to be in terms of location? Like, where will you actually be? Where would you want to be in terms of achievement? And you visualize these things. Yes, you visualize these things, and then you feel it as though it's already been done, right? And so this is really, really powerful because, again, like the most powerful thing about these meditations is when you have both hemispheres of your brain synced up like that and you're so relaxed, that's how you can reprogram your subconscious programming. That's how you can get rid of the old disempowering beliefs and install new ones because there's no resistance. Because what happens, I mean, even if you listen to alpha binaural beat off of YouTube, let's say, it's not going to synchronize both hemispheres of your brain, and you're still going to encounter resistance, right? Your analytical mind is going to be like, no, that can't happen for you. No, you can't lose weight. No, you can't be in shape or whatever it is. It's still going to give you resistance in the background, right? And so you need to bypass that resistance, the analytical mind, right? You have to bypass it and go straight into the subconscious and impress the subconscious mind. And so the way you do that, the most effective way I found is by doing these meditations. And especially once you get to focus 15, it is a trip because you are completely still and you're just in a state of beingness. And there's hardly any thoughts that enter your mind. And if they do, it's like not even a big deal. But it is, and that's also a very powerful state for developing your intuition and also for manifesting your desires. Focus 15 is the perfect state to really visualize something you really want to manifest in your life, and you visualize it as though it's already happened, and you feel those feelings. And then what I love about each meditation is they have you practice gratitude, express gratitude for what you experienced, which is really, really important. So I have found that if you do these meditations, it's is really, really powerful, especially if you are familiar with Neville Goddard. The gateway experience is really going to help you to stay in the wish fulfilled, right? So when you're doing these different exercises, like the patterning one, there's also meditation on problem solving, right? It's really going to be a complement to staying in the wish fulfilled, because when you are in these meditative states in the gateway experience, you're imagining being that future version of yourself that you want to be and already have achieved these things. And you're in such a relaxed state that your body is technically sleeping, but your mind is awake. It's like a lucid dream. That's the best way I can describe these meditations, is like a lucid dream. So the inception point, like I said, is right as you're going to sleep. So what I have been experimenting with great success is doing a gateway experience meditation, either Focus 12 or Focus 15, visualizing what it is that I want to change. So it could be the problem solving meditation in Focus 12, where there's a certain problem that I'm going through and I want to imagine it already being completed, and I want to know what the solution is and imagine that solution and that it's already done. And so what is really powerful is when you do it right before you go to sleep, or you do the Focus 15 meditation on intuition or manifestation. If you do those meditations right before you go to bed, what happens is you've just made that visual scene in your mind, right? It's still fresh in your mind, correct? This is what is really powerful. If you think about that visual scene again as you're falling asleep, your subconscious mind is going to go straight to work, because what Neville Goddard proved is whatever you fall asleep doing is going to show up in your reality. It just is going to, right? Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't believe that you can have that thing in your life, if you go to sleep at least 3 times a night with feeling that you're doing it, it's going to show up in your world. So what is so cool is you can use the gateway experience meditations right before you go to sleep. And then as you're falling asleep, repeat that visual scene that you created in the gateway experience, recreate those feelings as you're falling asleep. And then that way, you're going to bypass the analytical mind, and then it's going to be so much easier for you to stick to those new habits that you want to create in your life, or stick to those new empowering beliefs, and start really being less affected by the 3D world, being less affected by all these negative thoughts that you might get, to challenge you. You'll be less affected by it. Like, oh, that's not me. That's not true. Or if something happens, like let's say you get cut off in traffic, after doing this, you're going to be like, doesn't matter, because it really solidifies this belief that everything in your world is happening for your benefit. And that was the whole point of a lot of Neville Goddard's teachings. It's really complemented by the gateway experience, because what they teach in that is that everyone, you and me, we're all made up of waves of powerful energy. And in fact, everything in our 3D world, if you look at it in a microscopic perspective, is vibrating and is energy. So everything in our 3D world that we interact with is vibrating at a certain frequency, and it's actually moving. But to our naked eye, it looks like it's a solid object, right? So with that understanding, by changing your beliefs and changing your self-concept, that your perception of reality completely changes. Knowing this, it's empowering, because you don't really get upset at anything anymore, because things are happening because of you. They're not happening to you, because now you can change things. Now you can start to take the driver's seat of your life and start to change things. And especially if you combine this with journaling, writing out a powering affirmation, and then write a confirmation supporting that affirmation. The one I always recommend to people is every day and in every way I'm getting better and better. And so what you'd write below that is one confirmation that supports that. So that could be, I'm getting better every day because yesterday I weighed myself on the scale and I lost a pound, and I'm closer now to my goal of losing weight. Or it could be whatever it is, and you write down the confirmation, and then 3 things that you're grateful for. And then what I like to do is, after I write the affirmation, the confirmation, and the 3 things I'm grateful for, is to read it out loud. And then I start my day. I don't like starting my day until I do that. So I just really recommend doing this. It's really, really important, because, we've been programmed by society and classical conditioning. It goes back to Pavlov's dog. We all know what Pavlov's dog is. And it's classical conditioning by society that tells us that things happen to us, and that we have to force things to happen, and we don't have a lot of power to change our circumstances, and our circumstances dictate everything. And in fact, they really don't matter once you can develop the power of your attention and really focus on staying in that desired state, acting as if you are this future version of yourself, and staying in that state for long enough for it to change in the 3D world. Because reality is a mirror, and it's not overnight going to change to reflect your new beliefs. That's why you have to stay consistent with it. And over time, if you're staying in that acting as if state, then you'll see it reflected in your 3D world. And that's why you have to trust the process, and I think that's where a lot of people get, grumpy about it, let's say, is they want it to happen overnight and see those changes, but it's not like that. And so it's just something I wanted to share, because I really feel like this is important information, because, so many people I know, so many friends and family I know, feel like they're stuck and feel like disempowered a lot of the time. Just be 1% better every day. That's a quote from Atomic Habits. Highly recommend that book as well. But if you just focus on just getting a little bit better every day and not beat yourself up when you make mistakes as you're human, then you will see these changes. Again, I highly recommend Gateway Experience. It's like the most powerful way that you can really permanently change your subconscious programming that I've found. Because you can read a bunch of books, but until you find a way to install those new beliefs in your subconscious, the results aren't going to last. So, but again, it's just like everything, it needs to become a habit. So anyway, I just wanted to make this quick video. Hope you're doing well and stay classy.